Hey everybody, it's Lynn Renee McDonald. I'm coming to you from my house in Virginia Beach. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is coming from your heart space, okay? It's a little late, so I'm going to kind of keep my voice lower. And right now, never too late for saging. Okay. All right. So, got my little piece of paper here, my markers. All right. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about coming from your heart space. What does it mean when people say coming from your heart space? All right. I'm going to do you a little drawing here. Okay. See this, my paper? All right. This is for all intensive purposes right here. We're going to talk about our heart space, which is the center core of your soul. Okay, see, this is your little replica of your soul. Okay, all right, and in the very center of that, if you can see, is your heart space, right? Okay, so your heart space, this is your soul. Oh, damn, I got the backward thing on. Oh, I don't even know how to fix that. Okay, so let's just talk about this without any words. All right. Okay. So this is the replica of your soul. And this over here is the corner. Okay. Over here. All right. And this is God. You are a little replica of God or love energy. Okay. So this is what the big God of all that is, all right, love energy, would look like. Okay, and you are a little replica of that. I don't know if you can see that here. Okay, so everybody breaks off a love energy or God at some point, and see this connector cord? This connects you to your heart space. Everything that is the purest love energy, that is Christ consciousness at the highest vibration, is in the center core of your heart space. Okay, heart space. All right, here it is in God. I can make a little heart. It's hard to do this backwards and sideways, but we'll figure it out. All right, so here is this little heart. Oh, he needs to totally be colored in so you can see him, okay? So this is your heart space. This is your heart space right here. Here's the heart space of God. Here's your heart space, okay? When we govern ourselves from that place, that is where all our greatest us comes from. The ascension of the new world or our new world or this world, all right, is the very first step to this is that everybody must be in their heart space. What does this mean? It means that we come from love with every single thing that we do, everything. Okay, so that means we act from our heart. It doesn't mean that we don't use our brain and we don't use our bodies and we don't use our capacity to think and feel. It means all of those things we use, but they're always governed from here because everything and all that you are is really just all part of your whole soul. Okay, and your heart space is the area that you always want to govern yourself from. It is where all the purest love is. You are a mini replica of God. This is what gives you the ability to create all the things that you came in here to create, right? Okay, so here's your heart space. So now you see where your heart space is. So what does it mean to be governed from your heart? It means that everything you do, you come from love. Okay, so but it does not mean that you come from love from an unwell space of love for you. Okay, first and foremost is self-love, okay, which is your center core heart space. You must do everything in self-love, okay, be governed from your heart in a space of self-love for you first. Why? Because self-love is the first step, okay, in spirituality to creating you to be the best you that you came here to be. All right, so this is all just parts of law of universe. Okay, so let's see. So you always want to be in your heart space because that creates the greatest you that you can be. in all areas of your life. So with this great ascension, more and more people are going to start coming in, and they're going to be in their heart space. You know the difference between somebody who's more in their head space than their heart space. But the truth is, they really have the ability to be in their heart, but they're just not being governed from there. All right, in all that they do. Sometimes they let their people head space, which is part of all of this, okay? But it's not being in your exact heart space, okay? All right, so your soul governs everything, but your head space, or your part of your soul that operates with your head space, gets confused. All right, so then your head space decides to make decisions, all right, that are not the best space decisions for you. Okay, so how to explain this, as crazy as this sounds, the best way to explain this is, or many ways to explain this, is that when you do something because you think it's a good idea, okay, you don't govern for yourself from love. Like, you get thoughts and ideas that come in and you feel them and they feel really good. That's being in your heart space. They're 110% good. You know you should do them. All right. When you govern yourself from your thought space more than your heart space, okay, that's when you create the biggest mess ups of all right. A really good example is, or some really good examples are when we take a job for money instead of doing what we love to do. When we have a partner and we sort of love that partner, like we love them, but we're not in love with them. Okay. That's not coming from your purest heart space. Both of those things. Okay. Not coming from your purest heart space is when you do something that you know you really shouldn't be doing, and you have just some kind of unwell feeling about it, and you're like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. Kind of like, let's say you, I remember something that happened to my kids on the bus. You find somebody's computer or their iPad and they leave it on the bus at school, or your kids find it, right? And there's that part of you that says, oh, I want to keep this. I want to keep this for me. And then your heart space says, well, is that the right thing to do? And the part that would keep the computer is not the healthiest part of your soul being in its heart space. It is the part that is unwell. Okay, it is the part that isn't coming from the best place of God's honest, unconditional love, truth, and wisdom, which is in your heart space, and it is operating from here of an I want this kind of space, and not the healthiest, best place of love, which is the center core of your soul. Okay, so it's coming from that space, or you're not coming from that space. But in the case of where you feel you want to keep things from a place of love for you, but you know that in your heart, the right thing to do is to honor somebody and see if you can't get their item, because you know that they're looking for it, back to them. That's the right thing to do from love. That's being in your heart space. You don't take shit unless, it doesn't mean that finders, keepers, losers, weepers, that old saying isn't true, because if you find stuff, and there's a healthy boundary, and you know what that is, whether you should have something or not, by being governed from your heart space. This is why it is the start of the new world. Being in your heart space is what is going to start this great ascension, really, for the people who don't really get spirituality or don't really work with God. And when I say spirituality, I'm talking about just working with love energy all the time. Okay, so when you don't really get it or aren't on the path, the very first thing that is so crucial to this whole ascension in ourselves is by being in our hearts, in our heart space. Okay, so here's some more examples of things that are in their heart space or not. You truly love somebody, you want to be with them, okay, but you love yourself in the healthiest, best way, okay, and you won't allow any unwell to come from them, and you would rather not be with them and you choose not to be with them because you're in the healthiest place of love for you. It doesn't matter how much you love somebody, okay, and there's all different kinds of love, which makes this kind of crazy sometimes, okay? However, let me say, However, okay, when you love somebody, you, in order for them to be the healthiest, best partner for you, you must love yourself in the healthiest, best way for you first, okay? And that's being in your heart space. It doesn't say, being in your heart space doesn't say, well, I love this man. I'm so in love with this man. And it's okay if we have all these differences. And it's okay if he doesn't call me. And it's okay if we can't get along. And it's okay. No. It's not okay. Being in your heart space truly doesn't allow unwellness and will not tolerate that from a place of love for you first, okay? Being in your heart space is all about this, okay? So another example is you make sure 110% that whatever you do is coming from that highest vibration of love energy. That's being in your heart space. You don't take a job because you sort of like it. You don't do a job because it's just for making money. You don't marry somebody that you're both not in at 110% and you feel that you're not in that love energy space, okay? You don't do things to get away from other people. You know, like one of the things I did when I was younger is that I married somebody who I loved, but I wasn't in love with. And it's crucial that you recognize stuff like this, because then what happens is you end up in a divorce or unwellness, an unwell relationship, and then it creates a whole shitstorm, and all because you didn't come from your heart. And that's totally what happened to me. That's just one of the things. There's plenty of shit where I didn't come from my heart space, okay, throughout my life. Truly there is, you know. And so, and it's also, and coming from your heart space is also honoring others, but from the highest vibration of love energy, where it's the healthiest, positive way to do so from love. In other words, you don't give things of yourself at the expense of yourself. That's not coming from your heart space. It's not, okay? So, what does this mean? And so when you give stuff to people, like you say, "Oh, I'll babysit for you for free, and don't worry about it," okay? That's one thing, all right? And yet, when you say that, you're going to have to take the day off of work, and you really feel that you need the money, or you shouldn't be doing that. Okay, so there's some kind of deficit for you, all right, within whatever the agreement is, and that which is what causes it to not be in your heart space. So it is an unwellness to you. Okay, so you don't do anything for or with anybody, all right, or allow anything to happen to you or with you that doesn't come from the highest vibration of love and doesn't come from your heart space. Okay? Okay. So let me see. I'm just going to ask Spirit for a few more examples here as I clear out my phone. Okay. Thanks, God, for a few more examples now, please, of when we're not in our heart space. Okay. When we do things that we don't really want to do, we make promises that we just know we're not going to keep. Okay. It is better to, or we say we're going to call when we don't. We don't have our integrity. We're not in our purest form of God's honest, authentic truth. Okay. All of these things are all forms of not being in your heart space. And we do things for others from a place of resentment and from a place of unwellness in ourselves and for ourselves, or unwellness in a way that is just totally unhealthy for ourselves. So all of these things, is there anything that I missed for heart space, God? Okay, all of these things are not being in our heart space. When we are in our heart space, we honor and love ourselves in the healthiest, best way. We allow ourselves to have great things. We ask Spirit for great things, but we come from love in the purest form for ourselves first and all that is. And basically, being in your heart is doing the right thing from love. That's it. Okay, so I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight to give you an idea about what your heart space means, what it is, what it means, you know, the difference between here and here, and coming from that space, and give you examples to show you how to better be in that space. Okay, much love. Have a great night. Good night.